Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coach Menachem on this beautiful Sunday night, November 23rd, 2025. Thank you for joining tonight. It's Share 251. And thank you for coming. And we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight. Again, I want to first start off thanking all our viewers and people that post the program. A lot of people posted tonight all over on their statuses. I really appreciate it. As we say, it's a Sichas Chaverim, a place to talk through a lot of important topics. And tonight is obviously a very important topic. So hopefully we get a lot of clarity with Dr. David. If anyone wants to join our WhatsApp status, you can WhatsApp me at 732-314-1710. We'll also post the community link on the chat. You go to menachembernfeld.com and sign up for the emails where you post all the shiurim and the replays. I'm Coach Menachem. For other people watching this on YouTube, you can click on the subscribe buttons and also click on the like button so every time Menachem posts a video, you get to see it on YouTube. And it's also on all the other platforms, on Spotify and Apple. We named them, they're all there. Thank you to all advertising sponsors like Scoop here in Lakewood, Ellie Hour, 5 Towns Chantal, and Chayla Kaufman from JCN, the Jewish Content Network. The Coach Menachem Show is sponsored by OKClarity.com. OKClarity.com is the largest mental health and wellness directory in the global Jewish world. A place where you find amazing therapists, psychiatrists, provider, nutritionists, and yes, even Coach Menachem. OKClarity has amazing WhatsApp statuses, and we will send a link in the email after the show, so please join. It's an amazing place. For anybody who's here the first time, every Sunday night, Dr. David, every Sunday night. You've been from the beginning, so you know it's been pretty solid. You share 251. Every Sunday night on this Zoom ID, we have different topics of Rabbanim, different interesting. Next week, we have definitely a very interesting topic. November 30th is going to be with Jake Turks, who's the White House correspondent. We're just talking about his topic is how much danger are Jews in? A candid and political spiritual discussion with Mishpach's White House correspondent. So it's going to be a different feeling. We're going to see. We're going to relax the anxiety now, and then we'll get that anxiety for next week. So it's good. It's a refuel of Neidamaka. But a lot of people have a lot of different feelings of what's going on. So let's hear what he has to say. So please join us next week. It should be very interesting. Okay, we're going to turn it over now to Coach Menachem. Tonight's Gematria is 251. So Arnett Fried is not here. He's by the Big Siyum from Araisa. So Coach Menachem will do the Gematria of 251 applied in tonight's program, followed by an opening statement. So I'll ask the question now, Menachem. What are we doing here Sunday night? The floor is yours.
Great question. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. We'll start with the Gematria from our Noach. So many people think and dream if they were wealthy, between all the wealthy people, then everything would be good. And we'll find out tonight. It's going to be the discussion, but he says 251 is Gematria, Nogid Bein Hanegidim, wealthy individuals in between other people that are wealthy, basically to find out if that's the answer and if it's actually true. So thank you, Rabbi Noach, for the Gematria. Now I want to welcome everyone. Baruch Hashem with Siyata Dishmaya. Dr. David Rosmarin is tonight, 251, Baruch Hashem. And the topic is, it could be a heavy one. Talking about anxiety, it's a big word. Many people think if only if I can get rid of the anxiety, that's my goal. You know, everything would be great, and maybe it would. We're trying so hard to figure it out. Many people, therapy, medication. Many times we try so hard, it just gets worse because they don't see the results. So what's the answer? We're trying to figure it out. When we talk about anxious, there are many different levels. You know, being concerned, there could be people who feel constant heaviness. Good question to see if that's anxiety, all the way till real panic attacks. People who are really concerned about, they feel like they're gonna die. It's actually happening, and everything stops. And it's to know how to deal with it, to understand it. Hopefully tonight we'll get out. But the question is, when is it normal? When is medication needed? When is should I go to therapy? I've been in therapy for so long, I don't see it working. Well, the question is, working, what does that mean? What does it look like? But there are those who, if you ask them if they're anxious, they would say no. They believe they're not anxious. But I don't know if it's anxiety, but a certain level of people constantly in fight and flight. There is so much going on. They're always running. They're always many times get triggered, and they don't realize. They would say, "Listen, that's life. What do you want? I have responsibilities. I'm busy 24/7. I have to run a family business, pay the bills." But they don't realize that they're constantly in that. In, it's hard for them to just take a deep breath and just be for a few minutes. So it's a good question to see what is normal, where should we be, and if we are struggling, how do we deal with it? So Hashem should help. We should have a lot of siyata d'shmaya. Let's find out what's right and what's wrong. What am I looking for? And the main thing is tonight we're excited to hear how we can turn our greatest into our greatest advantage in 4 steps in Mitzvah Hashem. So thank you very much for being with us, and we shall have a lot of siyata d'shmaya.
Good, Coach Menachem. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, tonight's shir was sponsored by Fresh Start, a good friend of mine, Yochanan Palter. Let me just read a little blurb about Fresh Start if anybody doesn't know about it. Fresh Start, a week to come home to yourself. Every person carries a story. Some chapters are filled with light, some are shadowed by pain that long belonged long before adulthood. Childhood trauma, abuse, neglect, and emotional wounds can follow a person for years, quietly shaping relationships, self-worth, and ability to feel true simcha. But the Torah teaches us that healing is possible, renewal is possible, a fresh start is possible. The Jewish Fresh Start Intensive Retreat was created to bring back hope into the lives of those who need it most. Rooted deeply in Torah values and developed with the guidance of leading trauma specialists, therapists, doctors, and respected rabbanim, this 7-day retreat offers a sacred place where emotional healing and spiritual growth come together. Throughout the week, participants are guided through expert-led group sessions and transformative workshops that honor both the science and the trauma of the wisdom of Torah. You'll reconnect with the inherent wisdom of the Tzelim Elokim, gain tools to quiet inner turmoil, and rediscover the strength and clarity that's always inside of you. Between sessions, you'll be surrounded by uplifting Jewish environment, kosher food, recreational activities, and natural surroundings that help the neshama breathe again. There's no judgment, only support, understanding, and a reminder that Hashem believes in your ability. For more information, you can reach out to Yochanan Paltar. The number is 248-301-9997. That's 248-301-9997. It's an amazing program, and a lot of people that went there, and it's really beneficial for the right person. We'll definitely reach out. Okay, we have Dr. David Rosmarin with us. Tonight's title, you ready? The magic answer. I always had this question. If I had more money, would my anxiety go away? And how to turn anxiety into the greatest advantage in 4 steps by Dr. David. I'll read his bio, and then the floor is his. David H. Rosmarin, PhD, is an associate professor at Harvard Medical School, a program directed at McLean Hospital, founder of Center of Anxiety. Through his work as a clinical psychologist, scientist, educator, author, and keynote speaker, David has helped thousands of individuals and organizations to thrive by embracing the emotion of anxiety. His clinical work and research has been featured in Good Morning America, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Boston Globe, and TED.com, and Coach Menachem Bernfeld. David can be reached via his website, Rosmarin.com, DavidHRosmarin.com. And if anybody doesn't know Coach Menachem trivia, he was from one of the first, I think, 6 or 7 programs that Coach Menachem was going back. We're now 6th year, so he came on. He was like, he looked much younger. Now he aged with wisdom, and he's much more. We're getting much more fruit over here of David. So, Dr. David, an honor to have you tonight. It's a pleasure, and the floor is yours. Open it up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the introduction. Really appreciate the opportunity to be back on the Coach Menachem show with such a chashuva group of individuals. We are talking about a very serious and important question tonight. If you had more money, would your anxiety finally go away? I know what you think. You think the answer is yes. Most people privately believe that the answer is yes, that if they had more money, they would have less stress and they wouldn't have anxiety. Clinically, psychologically, and in terms of ruchnius, spiritually, the answer is almost always no. Almost always the answer is the opposite. Now, there's some validity to the position because money lowers your stress, but it doesn't lower your anxiety. Stress is about demands in life. If you have more demands than resources, you have stress. If you have money, you can meet monetary demands. That's true. However, anxiety is about uncertainty. It's about responsibility. It's about meaning. It's about things that you care about. It's not only about meeting the demands in your life. It's not only about paying your bills. It's about, do you have control? I've met so many people with very little money who are extremely steady and very grounded. And conversely, almost my entire caseload these days has incredible wealth, terrified almost every day. Usually it's their kids, terrified, struggling because they live in a world that seems certain because of the finances in the family, and they know internally that it's not certain. And the chasm, the contrast, is very difficult to deal with every day. The main reason for this, wealthy individuals almost always try to get rid of their anxiety. When people feel anxious and they have money, they will throw their money at their anxiety to try to make the world a more certain, comfortable, predictable place. If you have less money, not only do you have to accept your anxiety, but eventually you have to make peace with it and you have to connect around it. And that connection ends up turning it into actually a benefit in life. Tonight, I want to turn everything you know about anxiety completely on its head. I can see the questions are already coming in, but I'm just getting warmed up. At the end, I want to share with you a four-step process that I've developed over 20 years of work with over 10,000 individuals at Center for Anxiety and research at the Harvard Medical School in the last 15 years. I'm a little anxious, but that's a good thing. And if you're ready, I will take you through these steps. Actually, I'm going to do something else first. I want to talk about anxiety in general. It's not just one thing. There are two types of anxiety. There's healthy anxiety and there's clinical anxiety. Those are not the same. Healthy anxiety, it's uncomfortable, it's not pleasant. I'm not saying it's fun. Just because it's healthy does not mean it's pleasant, but it's part of being human. If your goal is to get rid of all anxiety, all of the healthy anxiety, you will lose. As Coach Menachem said so beautifully, the more you fight against it, the worse it gets. That's healthy anxiety. Anxiety is just a signal you're facing uncertainty, or you're taking responsibility, or you care about something that matters, and you're going to have some adrenaline shooting through your system. That's biology. Hashem made you that way for a reason. If you don't have healthy anxiety, something is wrong. Most people with anxiety today do not need professional help. They need a little skills and perspective, some habits. You need my four steps for sure to think about it in a positive way. But most people don't have clinical anxiety. Clinical anxiety, on their hand, that's a problem. That's something you need to take care of with a professional. And it's very simple. There are actually two types of clinical anxiety. There is severe clinical anxiety, which is really interfering with your life. It's becoming debilitating. It's a legitimate crisis. Coach Menachem, you mentioned panic attacks. Sometimes panic attacks, well, they're always uncomfortable, but sometimes they actually cause debilitating problems where the person's like can't get out of bed, can't function, can't date, can't go to sleep, overwhelmed. They need a higher level of care. Center for Anxiety deals with that about half of our cases. The other half of our cases have clinical anxiety that's not severe, but it's getting in the way of people's lives. It's unpleasant. It makes it hard to do your job, hard to be a friend, hard to show up in a real way, a little hard to sleep, hard to function. And clinical anxiety is real. It's a real thing. It's actually suicide is the number two cause of death for all young individuals under age 35 today. Okay. 20% of young people, not in our communities, thank God, but 20% of young adults nationwide are harming themselves because of difficult emotions. So somewhere between severe clinical anxiety and regular clinical anxiety is a problem that has to be dealt with. And I would bet 15% of individuals within our communities have anything in that range, and probably somewhere between 2 and 4% at some point will have severe clinical anxiety, which is a lot. A lot. If you have a family of, you know, 6 kids, 2 parents, probably someone's going to have clinical anxiety at some point and need professional help. But that's very different than the anxiety that everybody has. Healthy anxiety. Okay, A lady came to me, I'm drowning in anxiety, I'm drowning in anxiety. No, she wasn't. We looked closely. Her anxiety wasn't clinical. She was able to function fine, but she interpreted the fact that she was feeling bad as an issue. So that was the big issue. And once I kind of level set with her, like, you're going to feel this way. And then you can, here are some tools to actually use it, one, two, three, and four, which we'll get to. She didn't need therapy. She was able to get through it with an online program and actually do fine and actually do better. She did better in her life because she had that anxiety. That's different than clinical anxiety, where this is what we do day in, day out at Center for Anxiety. Um, Young individuals avoiding driving for months, having panic attacks, like you mentioned, falling apart in certain areas, not being able to get outside, feeling so shy that they can't date, that they can't function, they can't really, do live their best selves. Individuals that get obsessed or compulsive about certain areas, and needing dialectical behavior therapy skills, cognitive behavior therapy skills. Sometimes we'll even get in a car with a patient and go for a drive in order to help them. We'll do actually in vivo exposure work to help patients to do this. For people who are more severe, they might need a full week of intensive treatment, 2 to 3 hours a day, and that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes people have such intense anxiety they become unsafe. They might need intensive outpatient care. They might need DBT skills. There's a lot of things that can be done. But at any level, it's not because people are broken. It's just that their anxiety got out of control. And irrespective of this has nothing to do with funds. If anything, the more severe anxiety cases that I've seen usually have more money. And the reason is because there's an allergy, like I said before, to uncertainty. That's what anxiety is about. Once we accept that uncertainty is part of the picture, and we really, really internalize that, we can thrive with this. So I promised you 4 steps. I'll tell you what they are. These are 4 steps, but they're not for people with clinical anxiety. I shouldn't say it like that. If you have clinical anxiety, you can still benefit from these 4 steps, but you also need something professional. So, Coach Menachem, let me ask you, if I give over these 4 steps, are people going to use them instead of going to therapy and instead of getting medication? Because if so, I'm not saying them.
Some of them might try,
No
but
deal.
you're not going to say it.
I can't. I need your guarantee that if I give over these 4 steps, whoever needs professional help will at least go in and say, hey, do I need professional help? Like, at least speak to a clinician. If it's getting in the way of your life and interfering, whether it's severe or mild enough that you're thinking maybe this isn't a problem, I need to know that people are going to go and get at least a conversation with a professional.
So they should do it with a professional.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Deal?
deal. And
Okay.
whoever wants to follow the 4 steps, find a professional and discuss it with them.
If you need that, and if you don't, then you can use just the 4 steps. But either way, you can use them, but I just don't want that to be a replacement for professional help. That's my point.
Yeah.
Understood?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. If we're aligned, I will tell you what they are. Identify, share, embrace, let go. Coach Menachem, you want to say them with me together? And Rabbi Parnes, identify,
Identify,
share,
share,
embrace,
embrace, and let go.
let go. Good. Okay, excellent.
Again, identify,
Share,
Share, embrace,
share. What's the third one? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the third one.
embrace.
Embrace.
Give it a hug. I'll talk about it. And then let go.
but each one could take like a few weeks to learn this.
Well, yeah, potentially. I have a master class which takes people through all of them. I have a TED Talk which takes you through them really quickly. A couple of seminars coming up which takes you through them relatively quickly. But yeah, they are each of them is a skill to be able to do, and I'm sure we'll get into them into the Q&A. I guess I'll explain each of them quickly now. Identify is to act.
Let's take one example so people understand an example.
Okay.
Let's say I have anxiety. I have a legal issue that might run into trouble. So
Oh,
that
I love it. I
right.
love it. I love it.
So it's normal, natural anxiety, correct?
Definitely.
Okay. So what's my 4 steps? What do I do?
Okay, so identify, usually when people are dealing with some sort of a legal stress struggle like that and they have lots of worry about it, the last thing they want to do when they're not facing a lawyer is to think about the problem, right? I'm going to come home and distract themselves, talk to other people about other things. And there's something to be said for that. But you need to identify what you're really worried about. Are you worried about the bill? Are you worried about your reputation? Are you worried about your business? Are you worried about the future? Are you worried about something criminal? Like, what are we talking about here, Usher? Like, this is
Let's say financial.
so then, okay, fine. Then what's the consequences of that? So then I would want to probe a little bit more and really take you down the identify to what's at the root of your anxiety.
Sleeping in the park.
That's probably not at the root of your anxiety.
I'm afraid I'm gonna lose against suit for $200,000.
I understand, but then, okay, this sounds crazy, but there is a why at the bottom of that.
And I won't have enough money to pay for things.
It's more than that. Are people going to lose respect for you? Are you going to lose your relationships? Are your kids? You're going to have to say to your kids, "I'm really sorry. We can't take that
You can't just say it's a financial anxiety scare.
Come on, let's get real with me. Isn't this the Get Real podcast?
I'm being real. I mean, nobody wants to be, lose
I
their.
understand. Listen, it's a hard conversation, but I didn't say these steps were easy. But part of it is probing what's really at the root of it, and it takes a minute. I have a practice in my life. When I get triggered with anxiety, within 24 hours, I go for a walk and I make a cheshbon. What am I really afraid of? What am I really afraid of? What do I really care about here? And that in of itself, then I'm actually using my anxiety to become more aware of myself. It's not just the legal. It's not the legal thing. There's something more. You're a human. You're a person. There's something more pnimi, something more internal. That's what identify is about. There's a godless there. So, Coach Menachem, you said it takes weeks. You're right. It could be a week just on identify. In fact, I did it for a week with the group once.
So let's say it's having no money, I guess.
It's probably having to disappoint your kids,
Yeah.
or that you might lose covet in the eyes of your friends. Usually, it's a relational thing. Now, can you share that with someone?
That's a hard one.
It is hard, but there's such greatness in it because, firstly, Daiga Belevi Yasichana, it's not my line.
We discussed that in the past. Many men, especially men, I'm saying women also, to have a real good friend to say, you know what I'm feeling, and to tell them the truth. Not everyone has a friend like that.
You
Not
have to be
everybody,
lucky to have a good friend like that.
not everybody has a friend like that because they don't open up. I'm not sure what's the chicken and what's the egg.
They don't think that the other will be able to hold it, understand it.
Sometimes it's true, and often it's not. Often it's not. And if you're not sure who to call, Rav Usher, you can always call me. I'm here for you, my friend. No, seriously, sharing that with somebody. Years ago, I gave a talk at Harvard College. I'll never forget it. Never. The head of Harvard College Counseling Center was there. And he said that his data found that the number one predictor of students doing well in the first year of college is if they have one person that they can cry on their shoulder. These are the most highly educated, good-looking, wealthy, successful kids on planet Earth, and they all needed to be vulnerable with another human being. Go figure. Apparently, it's a human need. And Chazal knew it. By the way, if you really open up to someone, usually they'll say, like, yeah, it makes sense. You wouldn't want to disappoint your kids. Or like, of course you're going to be upset about like losing covet in the eyes of your chaverim at shul. Like, it's embarrassing. And I get that. And it sucks. And I'm here with
I was going to ask you, what could they help you?
validate. Hello, it makes sense to feel that way. And you don't have to fix the problem.
Well, us men, we want, solutions.
That's not true. We think we do, but it's not all about stress control. If you want to deal with anxiety, you got to share it with someone. Not everyone, you don't have to be weird about it, but like there's got to be somebody who you can actually have a normal human conversation with. I'm only at step two. Should I keep going?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
I struck out with you on that one. I felt like
No. I hear it.
get it, I get it, but like, usually people struggle with at least two of these, by the way, and then the other two they're good. This one you're going to be good at. Embrace whatever you're afraid of, face it. Face it. So if you're afraid of that lawsuit, think about it and go through it and, you know, in your mind, actually get to a point where you're able to think about it as opposed to not. Um, Embrace also comes up when you're afraid of like driving or flying or doing something. Do it. Let it ride. Don't fight the anxiety.
It's so painful.
It's great. It's building muscles. If you go to the gym, you're going to be sweating in order to build physical muscles. So do something that makes you anxious in order to build your emotional muscles. It's the same thing.
So you want to say it's great to feel the anxiety. That's what you're trying to say.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the physical strain. How do I know I had a good workout at the gym? I'm sweating like a pig. I'm completely out of breath. And by the end, I want to go to bed.
Maybe because I chose to be there. I'm in control.
You can be in control of your anxiety too if you choose to face it intentionally. The power of exposure therapy, but for the Hamonam, 100%. It builds resilience. And I've seen it 1,000 times in clinical practice where people came in with clinical anxiety, they faced their fears systematically in therapy, and they ended up becoming more resilient than anybody else. During the pandemic, it was amazing. All those people called me. They're like, why is everyone else falling apart and I'm doing great?
Wow. So
I literally wrote a scientific paper about it. There were so many people.
so explain again. What does facing my fear mean?
Um, it's Hachitsonius misoras apnimius, I believe the Ramchal would say. Well, however you act,
That means I'm scared to start a business. I should do it.
well, hold on. So it depends on what the story is, but if the only thing that's holding you back is fear, forward march.
Well, the fear plays with your mind because the fear is not just saying fear; it's saying fear because maybe this or maybe that, maybe I'll fail.
That's kind of where let go comes in. That's almost related to this. But yes, embrace is to do things that make you feel anxious. By the way, you don't have to do a 10 out of 10 like starting a business or being an entrepreneur. That's kind of nuts. But like you could do a 5 out of 10, you could do a 6 out of 10. You could start a risky project.
Making cold calls.
There you go. Start doing some
Okay,
sales,
let's go back. What's the first step again? Remind me.
identify,
Identify.
think
Okay.
about what you're anxious about. That one I
Think
got.
about what really is
What
the
are you
anxiety.
really the
Okay,
pain?
so
Like
the
get the
depth,
big
not. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm getting sued. What's going to happen? What do you feel? What's the fear? Okay.
what's
Number
like the
two,
two is share it with someone else, which you don't
share
want
with
to
a friend. So you got to find that friend. Okay.
call a friend, love, that kind of thing.
Right, right, right. You mean
Um,
not like Facebook, like my friend, like real friend.
yeah,
Yeah,
I,
yeah. Not like just like post it on your story.
you're coming over. We're gonna have a schmooze. So just to say, by the way,
The
you're
third one is embrace.
embrace. So embrace is to do things that make you feel anxious and not to resist that which you don't like. Not
That,
don't.
that, that we need to get a little more clarity on because it's like you're saying it's not 100% clear.
Do something that makes you feel anxious. Don't resist it. Don't fight against it. Just because you feel anxious doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing something. That is not a sign you shouldn't be doing something. Sometimes you got to surge ahead and beat it.
Okay, what's the fourth step?
Let go.
Ah, let go.
That's a whole book.
It is
Whole
right.
book.
It is right.
Mel. That's Mel.
Oh, Mel Robbins.
Reverend Mel. Yeah.
And just let them.
Just let them.
It's funny. I was on her podcast. Um, but I came up with this before then. Let go is about acceptance, but it's also about focusing on what you can change and like letting go of the rest. Like, let's be honest, you are not in charge. I am not in charge. We're not. It's just what it is. We're human beings. We have a limited scope of knowledge. We have a limited scope of control. And by the way, there are areas in your life where you do this. You are able to let go of certain things.
Sure.
Everybody
Sure.
is. There are just certain things that you have trouble letting go of, and that's where we have to get more
I
focused.
would say we let go of 98% of the things in life. Just that
Oh,
two.
yeah,
Okay. That's a great opening. Let's get into the polls.
got
And
it.
if you want to ask questions again, we're honored to have Dr. David with us tonight, who's very highly reputable. So please take the opportunity to ask all your questions tonight. Text Usher Partners. Remember, live questions go first. We're going to ask a four-question poll, and then we're going to share it with Dr. David. Let's go. Four questions. Everybody answer to the best of your ability, honestly.
Okay.
Number one, how present is anxiety in your daily life? Four possible answers. A, I feel it often and impacts my day. B, it comes and goes depending on stress. C, I only feel it occasionally. Or D, I really experience anxiety. Second question. When anxiety shows up, what do you usually do? Four options. Try to push it away, ignore it. Option two, overthink and spiral. Three, pause and try to calm myself. D, I don't know really how to respond. It really takes me down. Three, do you believe that having a lot of money would significantly reduce your general anxiety? Not what Dr. David said. What do you believe? Number one, yes, money would remove a lot of most of my anxieties. Two, somewhat it would help, but I would still feel anxious about other things. You're right, I'm anxious because I don't have money, but if I had money, I'd be anxious about other things. It's not going to solve that problem. Three, not really. Money isn't the root of my anxiety. Option four, no. Anxiety comes from deeper emotional or life issues, not money. Fourth question, when it comes to panic attacks, what best describes your experience? If you ever experienced one, from these four answers, what would you write? I've experienced them and they feel overwhelming. B, I had a few, but didn't realize what they were. C, I feel close to one. I feel close to one. One second. I'm sorry, my screen is bouncing. I feel close to one sometimes, but I manage to stop it. Like you get nervous, but you don't like lose it. Or D, I've never experienced a panic attack in my life. Okay. Give you 5 more seconds to answer these four questions, Dr. David, and we're going to review with you. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, first question. How present is anxiety in your daily life? 28% of people feel like it impacts them often and impacts my day. The number one answer, Dr. David, it comes and goes depending on stress. So basically, if I'm having a very stressless day or week or month, I'll feel very little anxiety. 46% of people feel that it's the stress that causes the anxiety that makes it move. 15% that I only feel it occasionally. 11% I really experience anxiety. Any comment on this?
Um, More than 50% are saying they have significant anxiety. I guess it makes sense.
26 plus 28 is like
Way,
almost 75. Yeah.
way more than 50%. So I guess it makes sense. People, this is a show on anxiety, so people showing up for that. It's probably a bit of a biased sample. People looking for answers. And we're all in it together. I answered that it comes and go depending on stress. So I'm in it with you.
Okay. Number two, when anxiety shows up, what do you usually do? 13% try to push it away, ignore it. 23% overall and spiral. 55% of people, this is amazing, pause and try to calm themselves. So they feel anxiety, they take a deep breath, pause the situation and try to do it. And 9% I really don't know how to respond. It takes me down. What do you say to that?
I wonder how many times firstly, I would use the four steps, of course. But with regards to pausing and try to calm myself, I did not answer this question. How many people think that works? That's my real question. Like, does that usually when you try to put away your anxiety?
So again, David, if it's a natural anxiety, you take a deep breath and you're like, okay, this is part of life. I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's maybe. But if it's like one of those chronic anxieties, it won't work.
I don't know if it's chronic versus acute. To me, the question is, how are you processing it? Do you see this as a problem and you're just trying to get rid of it? You calm yourself down and then sort of waiting for it to resurface?
It'll be an escape.
Whack-a-mole. Pops right back up usually, but and either way, 23% are saying they're overthinking and spiraling. So obviously needed some solutions here.
Let's go to the next question. Do you believe that having a lot of money would significantly reduce your anxiety? 12% of people say yes. Money would remove most of my anxiety. 35% somewhat it would help, but I would feel anxious about other things. So they feel that money would definitely help, but they would have other anxiety. So between both of them, you have 50% that they feel money would make a big difference with their anxiety. 25% not really. Money isn't the root of my anxiety. 28% no. Anxiety comes from deeper emotional or life issues, not money. So you have really, honestly, if you take this question, the data is showing here that it's pretty split.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying money is not at the root of it.
Well, you have 25 and 28. The other 35 and 12 are saying that it would really help them. It might not solve it.
35, even the 35 are really saying it's not fully. I'm impressed. I'm actually very impressed with the group. I would not have expected this. maybe people listened to what I had to say and took it to heart. I'll give myself the credit. Or it's just this like super awesome group, maybe both.
Number four, when it comes to panic attacks, what best describes your experience? 28% of the people have experienced,
Yes.
and it feels overwhelming. 7% I had a few, but I didn't realize what they were. 26% I feel close to sometimes, but I managed to stop it. 39% I've never experienced a panic attack.
Amazing. Over the lifespan, some 80% of Americans will have a panic attack over the lifespan at some point. And many end up in the ER because they think they're having a heart attack. So I don't know. I guess that generalizes to the 7% here. And it looks like 20% of the people, 28% of people have. So glad I appreciate everyone's honesty.
Thank you. Okay. Again, live questions, please text me. Let's go. Let's do it. Hi.
Yeah, hi, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hi. I've had anxiety like probably my whole life, and it's been very, very high anxiety. And usually I'm in fight or flight mode. But yeah, I'm able to function. I have a part-time job and I go about my life, and the fight or flight has become my baseline. I mean, I do have pockets of calmer times, and when I'm able to deal with it, and I'm in therapy, and I have coping skills. But my anxiety has just become part of my life, whether even if it's fight or flight. Is that not clinical anxiety? Because I do have a diagnosis of GAD, and I have OCD, but I am able to function. So like, what does that mean? Like, where do you draw the line?
Does it interfere in your life at all, Sarah?
Yeah,
It does.
yeah.
Without getting too personal on the air, how so?
So I only work part-time and I have a lot of anxiety at work. My coworkers are very understanding and trying to think. I do volunteer for an organization that for Chesed, but also it does impact my dating. Which is I don't know if I should put my dating on pause or not because my anxiety has become my baseline.
Got
But
it.
yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, so it does interfere.
Yeah, that's sounding like the clinical camp, which is, you're definitely in good company, especially tonight. I think 28% of people said they had a panic attack, and I would imagine a good chunk, and also more than 50% had said they had some significant anxiety. So you and a lot of other people on the call tonight definitely are in this category. I think the four steps are helpful. I do not think they're enough when it's interfering in your life. There are different options. It sounds like you are in therapy. Uh,
Yeah.
Sometimes something more intensive can be helpful, like sort of knocking things out in a week or 2 weeks, which can be helpful and sort of like confidence building. Like here we go. We're gonna sort of nail down a couple things, whether there's OCD. GAD is a little harder to deal with, but not impossible if there's a lot of avoidance. Um, yeah, so just you got I think you need to work both on the professional side and then on the other side that you're doing by coming to programs like this.
Right, and I mean, I know you don't know me, but do you think, like, I don't want to go to IOP, like, I had bad experiences, but do you think, like, based on what I'm saying, you think I would need it or not
So
really?
this is a good question, and I'm glad you asked it. IOP has different utilities. Some people need IOP because they cannot function without it. That's not you. You're holding down a job, you're volunteering, you're might be struggling with dating, okay, but like it's hard. Okay. So here we are. That's one function for IOP. Other people go to IOP because they want to get things done quickly and they want to spend a week or 2 weeks or like I don't know, 6 weeks, let's say, doing coming in twice or three times a week, whatever it is, and knocking things out in sort of a more quick way. One of the initial protocols I learned how to do anxiety treatment at Boston University. And I remember at the time they were doing a clinical protocol for the entire 12-week panic disorder treatment, which I don't think you have, in 5 days. And the treatment effects are the same. So I wouldn't call that IOP. I mean, I guess it kind of is because it's intensive and it's outpatient.
Right.
It's a little different. It's more like accelerated sort of intensive therapy in order to make sudden gains. There's another thing with therapy, you really want something called sudden gains. Within the first 2 or 3 sessions, if you're doing well, it really predicts a lot more what the outcome of therapy is going to be. But if you're not doing well within a month, the first month, that's why I tell people like try therapy for a month, and if it's not going well, then usually make a pivot and make a pivot quick.
No, I know I've been in therapy almost my whole life. Just recently, I'm trying to use more like DBT skills, and I've been fighting it, but now I'm trying very hard to, let's say, observe, describe, and like use DBT skills.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah, thank you,
Thank you. Thanks for your honesty and your openness.
thank you.
Okay, amazing. Let's go to the next question. You're on.
Hi, Dr. Rosmarin, I guess. That's the right name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Me? Who am I speaking with?
My name is Rudy. I guess I'll just keep it very simple. If I may speak to you in a more philosophical, technical, and psychological babble, if I could just ask you a question exclusively in the field based on what you just said the last few minutes. Um, Distinguishing innate anxiety or um, whether it's conscious, subconscious, unconscious anxiety, or is it something that can be acquired on development over time? Can it be something more deeply rooted in genetics? Before I ask my primary question, I just wanted to hear your feedback. Whatever specific area you expertise in, I actually would love to know what that is, but I'll leave it with that to start.
Lovely question. Why do I feel anxious? Isn't it my genetics? That's basically it.
It's not as in my genetics. Why do I feel anxious? Is the first question, regardless
Is
of the
it
scope.
because of how I came into this world? Is it because of how I was raised? Is it because of my genes? Something like that. So I'll tell you a couple things. I've been in the academic medical field for 2 decades, and I I love going to genetics talks at academic conferences. I'm a bit of a nerd. But the real reason is because I have never been impressed with the science on a scientific level of the genetic basis for anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder. Maybe a little bit for depression, maybe a little bit for bipolar, but only when it's diagnosed correctly. Maybe for schizophrenia, but not mood-based psychosis. And I can go on and on and on. When it comes to anxiety and OCD, though, I've never been impressed with the genetic basis of it.
But can someone who is, I guess, can you possibly incomparably equate the idea of someone who's developed clinical anxiety due to unresolved, anxiety step transferring into
I'll tell you
trauma?
what often happens. You know, little Chayla or Chaim comes home and they're feeling anxious. And mommy or Tati say, "Is everything okay?" And then what does Chaim or Chayla learn? Oh my God, something's wrong when I feel anxious. As opposed to just having a conversation with them saying to identify what's at the root of your anxiety. Oh, you feeling okay? Like everything all right, sweetie? Why don't you tell me about what happened? What are you really worried about? In like a normal, healthy way, and then getting them to share and then helping them to embrace it and then learning to let go of which is a normal developmental process, which we are missing today because we are allergic to anxiety. We've created this boogeyman called anxiety, and we're terrified of him. And
Dr. David, if I may just interrupt for a
please,
second, just to be brief. You see, I'm a teacher at a school here. I teach elementary and high school, and I'm sure you can understand. Standing in front of children and teaching them for any significant portion of time is revealing in terms of personality development, et cetera. There's a lot that goes on with the mind, the way they operate. And the question I would ask you is, um, could crippling anxiety or induced anxiety, whether it's self-induced or it's due to a manifestation of some type of subconscious reaction, can it actually develop into clinical psychosis, something to that effect? Or is it something that can be is natural and it's just an obstacle that has to be you need to learn?
almost always clinical anxiety develops because of how we respond to it. Almost always. Now, there are personality factors. Some kids are more anxious than others. Some of my kids are more anxious than some of my other kids. But nevertheless, when you respond to anxiety with certain approaches, we can make it better or worse. At a certain point, I think we can actually make it great and learn how to thrive with it. But that's the art of thriving with anxiety, which is what I've been trying to get at.
Can I share one last thing? Just very, Usher, if it's okay. One last thing, very short. Um, I'm on. I've had it, like many people, not 2025 label anxiety or ABA. I've had it for a long time. A lot of trauma behind me. However, I've remained strong for many, many years. My question I would ask you is, I'm actually currently on medication. I started about a year ago after multiple episodes over 30 years, 35 years, did not go well. I got to the point where I recognized that due to my profession or my situation, it might behoove me to actually consider and take it seriously, and I did. And it had a significant, unprecedented, impact. And the reason I'm bringing this up is just because something you said before when you started out is that medication is a phenomenal tool. I'm not necessarily a proponent of it, but medication in today's generation is modifying the reaction of the child, the student, modifying things, noticing, because we can't succeed with medication without proper supportive conditioning anyway. So just thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate your digression on psychology.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments and your our engagement. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's go to the next question. 1 second. Hi.
Hi. Hi,
Hello.
Dr. Rosmarin. Had a question about meditation
Great,
and how I'm a meditator. That's how I deal with it.
great.
And I just wanted to know what you think about, like how do you use that in a practice or how would you recommend it to people? Um, it changed my life. It
Great,
absolutely changed my life. I
great.
have I have IBS. So IBS is one of those things that causes enormous amounts of anxiety on a whole lot of levels. And, can I go out today kind of thing? That was what it used to be like. And I use the tensing muscles and letting go because that also helps your vasovagal nerve. So it's tensing muscles, letting go, and that's the kind of the meditation. That's how
Progressive
it
muscle,
starts.
that's called PMR, progressive muscle relaxation.
Yes, yes. So that was taught to me by a doctor, and the meditation I actually get from a rabbi,
Okay.
and I love it. And it just puts me in that space where the IBS is much more in control than it ever was, and my anxiety levels are amazingly better. And so I'm just asking, what you've seen with meditation.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you'd be anxious about it if it's working. But
No, I'm not anxious about it. No,
I
no, no.
was kidding.
I
I'm
no.
kidding. Uh, there are different types of meditation. So meditation often is misused by people to ignore or to suppress or to distract themselves from anxiety. If meditation is going to be effective, and this is probably what you're doing, it's probably helping you to quiet your mind so you can be aware and identify what you're thinking of. I don't know if you're sharing it, but it certainly can help you to actually embrace that and let yourself think those thoughts, let yourself feel discomfort, and actually increase your strength to be able to deal with it. The main choice in dealing with anxiety is, are you fleeing away from it or are you fighting it off or are you doing neither of those? If you're fighting or fleeing from anxiety, you're literally using adrenaline to fuel more anxiety, the fight or flight response, right?
Right, right.
You're
Yeah.
actually physiologically creating a cascade where you're fighting or fleeing from your anxiety and releasing more adrenaline into your system when you do that. The alternative is acceptance, identification, connecting with other people. Those are different muscles and different approaches. So I would bet if it's working, you are probably using meditation to accomplish one of those aims or goals.
So yes, I am. And one of the things that not shocked me, but validated me was when you said you need that person to talk to. So I used to have a friend, I still have this friend, who became very ill with Parkinson's and then now has developed severe dementia. So I can't have a conversation with her anymore. I've tried. She's in a nursing home right now. She's not that old either. But anyway, I didn't realize what an effect that had until you said it, and I went, "Oh my God, yes, it did. Yes, it did." So that was huge. She's the person I took, we went out for coffee and I told her everything. And it was just the best. When that was taken away from me, oh yeah. And I didn't get it until you said it. Until you said it.
Sounds like you have to create a connection either with that person. I don't know if you can, but sounds like that's on your list of things to do.
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you.
So what would be a sign if somebody's meditating that that they're avoiding?
Huh. If the anxiety comes back with a vengeance there afterwards, are you more aware of what you're anxious about afterwards? At first, I'm going to ask you some questions. Like, if you're meditating, does that help you to become more in tune with yourself, more aware, or are you just feeling more peaceful because you've pushed the anxiety out of your mind? That's an internal question which you have to ask. I can't answer that for whoever's asking, but that's
But let's say they feel that they push it out of their mind and they're calm.
okay, great. But it's going to come back with a vengeance.
That's not what I do. Excuse
Yeah.
me. If I can say, my thing is that I get into my meditation and I'm trying to find out why I'm in this place and put it aside. Like maybe that's not a good idea either, but it's like, okay, now I know what it is. Now I know what it is. I'm good. And I feel very calm when I'm done. I feel much calm. I mean, incredibly calmer.
You're working the steps. You didn't even know it.
I need to do it in order to clear my head so I can get there and figure out why I'm so anxious. I think that's really the key for me. Um, the Torah meditations are amazing because it's really about speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, I need help. And I'm okay with doing that. I'm not okay with doing that with most people, but I am okay with doing that with God. So, yeah,
Hmm.
it's very helpful.
Great.
If you want to unmute?
David, would you be okay doing a walkthrough with the four steps if somebody volunteered with their issue? Where we can get a better example? Okay, let's try it out. Okay? See if it works out. Okay, hi, you're on. You want to be our volunteer, right?
Um, to free myself from this problem, yeah,
Okay, so
sure.
Good to hear.
I have though little hope that it's gonna work, but let me try it. Okay, so I'm a backseat driver and I have terrible anxiety in the car, just in the car. Otherwise, I can handle all types of anxieties that I had already. And panic attacks, I knew how to handle it. I learned a lot about it. And even on a plane, I know what to do for my anxiety. But in a car, I know that I'm gonna die in a few minutes. A day before distance, I'll even make sure I leave my house the way I'm okay that people should just take over. Or even with my kids, everything is it's real anxiety.
And it's only when you drive as a by the way, it's a little hard to hear you, so I'm gonna do my best. It's only when you're a passenger in a car, correctly?
I'm so sorry. Right, yeah.
Yes? Only when you're a passenger. When you're the driver, you're
You don't
fine.
hear me? What do you?
Kind of coming in and out.
Yeah, well, I'm not driving. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me see.
I mean, I'm okay with it.
Sorry. How about now? Is it better?
Try it.
Ay, ay, ay.
I think so.
What? You asked me something?
No, I think it's good. So it's only when you're a passenger in a car, right?
Right.
Back seat, side, like front seat, either trunk.
Front seat. Back seat is better.
Back seat's better. Got okay, that's good. So what about being in the
It's
front seat
not
of a
it's not so good.
No, no, it's bet. I mean, it's just better because that will maybe help us to identify what's at the root of it. What are you afraid of
Oh,
to happen? You said something about dying.
yes, I'm scared it's of an accident. Like it I'm sure it's gonna happen.
You're sure it's going to happen. Okay, that's interesting. And are you afraid of? Why are you more afraid when you're in a car in the front seat than in the back seat, and as a passenger versus driving?
So my husband is that the I need to sit in the middle because the car will crash either in the front or in the back. So in the middle, I'll be safe because I won't get squashed or I could survive the accident.
But
Does
you're
that
okay.
make sense? What?
You're okay driving.
I wish I would drive, but we don't drive our Hasidus.
No, I understand. I understand. But theoretically, if you were driving, you would be okay with it.
I think I would be in control. Yes.
Okay.
If I yeah, would have the wheel, I would be able to control
So
it.
the issue is being in control.
Could be I would also be scared, and I think I need to tell you that my mother is also very scared, and I grew up. She would literally screech in the car whenever something would happen, and from a trailer, a truck, of course, I'm like holding my seat, and that's when I see it happening.
So you had that modeling. Let me ask you, if you let go of control and God forbid something happened, then would you blame yourself, so to speak?
No, but I try doing it in the car, and I prepare myself for death. Like I make peace with dying.
I mean, I'll tell you what's going on here. It's a very simple, specific, discrete phobia. So the identifying is pretty clear. Like you're afraid of
Yeah.
dying in the car. You have shared it. You're sharing it very clearly. So you're kind of like check and check. But how much do you actually face this on a daily basis without like fighting against it? Going into a car every day, multiple times a day, having someone else drive, sitting in that front seat and like looking out the front window, facing the fear.
So I do feel guilty whenever I hold on to my seat tight, or even if I utter a word of scare, I feel bad for my husband. And I usually tell him that I trust him, but it's my fear, or I don't trust the driver in front of me or in back of me. I try to make it like he shouldn't feel, I shouldn't have to feel bad for him,
Okay,
or he
now
shouldn't feel.
now I understand what's going on here. It's not only about the anxiety, it's also that you feel bad about the anxiety.
Right.
You
But
think
that I try to be at peace already with that.
but you don't because you don't feel okay with it. You actually blame yourself but think it means that you don't trust your husband.
No, because I feel bad for him. He can't drive peacefully because he has a nerd next to him that like is you can imagine how he feels whenever he drives, and I'm making like I really make him a shake.
What if you were to actually be okay being with Suga in the car and like never mind, you know, facing the fear by actually being with Suga in the car and having an understanding with your husband, like you're gonna be with Suga in the car and that's just the way it is. And you like completely let go of that and just embrace it and do it.
Okay, so that I have when I just use a taxi. I can sit with my sisters and I will pinch them, or I would I know I'm not okay. I'm really not okay.
It
Like I
sounds
could
like it
scream
does
or like
sounds like
what?
sounds like it does interfere with your life. So being a passenger in a car would be you might be in the clinical category over here. And but I will tell you steps 3 and 4 are where the magic is for you. which means getting into a car repeatedly and being accepting of the fact that it's going to be a rough ride, learning to totally just embrace that, not fighting against it, and leaning into the anxiety as opposed to trying to fight away from it.
I want to ask you something. I have one sister that really got fed up. She told me once that I think, homie, it's not your this is not your real problem. I think you cover up something else, some other issues or anxiety, and you put all this stress into it. But I can't connect to that.
I'm not
Maybe
masculine.
can you relate to that?
No, I don't agree.
Thank you.
No, you have a specific phobia and your mom had a specific phobia. You come by it honestly and you have a hard time with it. And since other people are driving, it's getting in the way interpersonally. You have to be more accepting of it, but you got to fight it. Fight it
Fight
with
it, not be impatient. What do you say?
fight the fear. I mean, like by facing the fear, embrace the fear,
By
but
loving.
you got to stop judging yourself.
Mhm. I need to fight it by loving it. Yeah, that
Love
type of.
yourself and then fight it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right.
It's really
We're gonna
step
try
three
it.
and four with a little bit of a knage.
Ooh. All right.
So if she can,
Is that helpful?
It is. I need to go into a car and try it now.
Right.
if she can embrace it, you're saying eventually it'll get a little bit easier.
100%, but it's not only embracing the fear in her case, because she's tried that, it's embracing the fact that she'll be afraid and be okay with that. She's fighting her natural feelings. And she has a phobia, and her mom had a phobia, and she's been told that something's wrong with her. So, like, of course she's fighting against the feelings, but of course she has it, and then she's fighting against it. It's making it worse. Like, okay, I get nervous in the car, and I'm gonna learn how to turn this into something which is gonna embrace, which is gonna invigorate me, as opposed to something that's taking the wind out of my sails.
Wow, okay. So here's a question that somebody sent in. I've always been known as someone who overthinks, but lately it feels different. I wake up tense, my chest feels tight for no specific reason, and these small things feel overwhelming. I'm trying to figure out if this is just normal stress from life and responsibilities, or if it should be more, I should be more concerned and seek professional help. How can someone tell when anxiety has crossed the line into something clinical?
Welcome. صديقة زين أوفر كان سمحتهم.
Great question. Um, First of all, it's not out of the blue, my friend. Whoever asked this question, your anxiety is not out of the blue. Especially if you're waking up with it and feeling tense and stressed and you have a history of being a worry wart. No. You're worried for a reason, you're stressed for a reason, there's something going on. You just aren't taking the time to actually identify what's at the root of it. So if it's getting in the way of your life, for sure see somebody clinical. But in your case, even if it's not, it might make sense to have a couple of sessions with someone just to process your feelings. Sounds to me like you could be a coach, could be for sure, coach, therapist, anything. Um, just to sit and have a couple of sessions and like, why am I feeling this way? Sometimes just banging it out in a couple of sessions is worthwhile. You could also do that with a friend. You could do that with, if you're married, you could try it at home without turning your spouse into your therapist. But whatever's going on, take the time, go for a walk, think it through. Don't distract. Like use it. Use it as fuel to understand yourself.
Mhm.
Okay, David, you ready for another walkthrough? We have another volunteer.
Then
All right. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Okay,
So I guess I'll go to explain a little my anxiety.
please.
It's basically related with pregnancy. So I guess I've been through traumatic birth in the past with my children, and the past two times, like I'm currently pregnant now, and one before, One before I had severe anxiety in the beginning, first trimester. It was so severe, and I went on to medication, and
Yep.
then things were going pretty well for the rest. But I've done a lot of self-growth work, and I was like getting into this pregnancy now, and I felt like I'm perfectly ready for it, and I feel like I've worked through my anxiety, but again, I feel like I'm hitting a wall, and I'm seeing myself in the anxiety again.
Um, Firstly, B'Shah Tov and Salachas.
Thank you.
Secondly, you said you've had a traumatic birth or pregnancy experience in the past?
Yes, one of my children.
Okay, so that's heavy.
Right.
Why would you expect yourself not to feel anxious if you're pregnant again, having gone through that? How could you expect that?
Okay. But I did a lot of work. I did a lot of trauma work.
Okay, but
And
you're carrying a baby, and last time, or at least once in the past, you had a pretty rough time. I don't know what happened, but if you're talking traumatic birth, pregnancy, like eh, that's gonna bring up some. Listen, the reason you did the traumatic therapy and stuff like that is so you could get pregnant again, and you're doing it. Like you're carrying another baby. You're doing it. You're not letting it
right,
get away with your life. That doesn't mean it's going to be an easy ride. You're still having
right,
anxiety because you're facing the uncertainty of life. You care about this child. You care about your family. You care about your health. You care about your kids, your mom. Why are we considering this to be a problem?
but I'm not, it's interfering with my life. I'm not functioning.
Okay, fine. So if it but now we're not talking. Now we're not judging ourselves for feeling anxious. We're talking about the effect that the anxiety is having on you, and there's a big difference.
Right.
Right? So you have permission to feel anxious. That is number one, and number two, and number three. Now that we've established those three important points, we can talk about what to do with it. And if you think about this, there's a good reason. We can identify it really clearly without even going into details. You're sharing it now. I don't know how many people you talk to about it, but it sounds like you've got therapy going on.
That what?
Sounds like you've got therapy going on, so I imagine you talk about it.
Um, Not clinical therapy, but like support group of coaching. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you need to up your game, up the ante, I should say, or up the game also when you're while you're pregnant or maybe postpartum. That's fair. That might just be part of the, cost of being pregnant, given your history, and that's fine. But you have to talk about it with someone, what's on your mind. The point of talking about it, by the way, isn't just to get it off your chest. I didn't speak about this before. It's to create connection with another person. When you speak about your anxiety and you talk about it, get it out of your heart into someone else's ears, that should create more connection with them. And that connection helps us to deal with the anxiety. Because then you're not
Right.
alone. Then you're not dealing with this on your own. Then you're dealing with this with a partner or with somebody else who's there for you.
But I'm feeling like I'm fighting it.
That's number three. Stop fighting your anxiety. You're gonna feel anxious. Let yourself feel it.
So what I'm fighting, what I feel like I'm fighting is I feel like I can't deal with the physical um discomfort and pain it's causing me.
What's
Like
gonna happen if you let it go? If you just let it ride, let it happen, don't fight it. What's gonna happen?
I'm having a very hard time just letting go of it.
I know it's uncomfortable, but what's gonna actually happen?
I was it can sound funny, but I was in a place where I was like, I kept on telling my husband, just take me to the hospital and let them put me to sleep until this next 5, 6 weeks are over. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. I can't feel so sick. I'm not functioning. I'm not a mother. My house is like,
Listen, there might be something clinical that you have to take down the edge. That these steps are not going to be sufficient, which is exactly what I told Coach Menachem at the beginning. These four steps are adjunctive if you have clinical anxiety, and if you're telling me you're really not functioning, then you might need a higher level of care. That's fine. But there's still something to be learning here, which is I have a feeling your anxiety is getting worse because you're fighting against it as opposed to letting it just be part of the pregnancy process and letting yourself feel anxious, giving yourself permission to feel that because of your history and because of who you are. That doesn't mean you're a broken person. It means you had a rough time and you're human.
Right. So as I'm
I'll tell you
speaking
this,
now,
I only get anxious about things I care about. If I don't care about it, I'm not anxious about it.
right. No, but what's coming up right now as we're speaking is like uh, um I'm not feeling okay, not functioning, like sort of feeling like a failure that I can't continue with my housework
So
and
that
all the
already,
responsibilities.
that's fine. And we can talk about that. And I think that's a clinical issue that has to be dealt with the therapy or case management or something more intensive or less intensive or pharmacology or medication or whatever it is that you do. And that's a separate conversation. That's more of a clinical conversation. But I think that at the beginning of the conversation, when we were at the beginning of our schmooze tonight, you were having a lot of judgment of yourself and getting pretty bent out of shape about the fact that you felt anxious. Now you're telling me you don't like the effects of feeling anxious. Okay, so we can talk about that. That's clinical. But don't give yourself a hard time for feeling anxious. Not given who you are. That doesn't make sense.
I think I wasn't judging so much a part that I'm anxious. It was I think it was more of like a disappointment for me because I didn't expect it to happen. And then I think what's more coming to me is this part that I'm sort of a failure with not being able to keep up with, all my responsibilities.
Yep, that sounds like judging to me.
So that's judgment on the anxiety.
Yeah, you're expecting yourself to not feel or struggle in any way. And given your history, I just don't know if that's a reasonable thing. That's actually probably making it harder for you to function, ironically. This is part of embracing and letting go. Can you allow yourself to feel it? In fact, you're the second caller tonight, second female caller tonight, who was really upset about the fact that they felt anxious. And actually, that made things substantially worse in the context, either driving or pregnant. Happens all the
Yes.
time. The worst part about anxiety is that we interpret it as a failure on our part. By the way, it happened to me. Like I remember when I opened up my clinic, Center for Anxiety, and I, was carting into New York from Boston. And I was super stressed out and I felt anxious and I started judging myself like, David, like you're supposed to be like the dude who's, you're supposed to be like the anxiety guy and here you are feeling anxious. And then I remember stopping and saying like, of course you feel anxious. You have a full-time academic career in Boston and you're opening up a clinic in New York. If you didn't feel anxious, you'd be crazy. If you didn't feel anxious, something would be wrong. That much I will tell you.
Mhm.
Question,
David,
what
just
do you
I
do?
want to I want to just walk through this because I think maybe this is helpful for people. So basically, when somebody feels something like they feel anxiety, right? Nervous, maybe nervous about money, nervous about a job. Let's talk about regular anxieties that people have. The first step when you're saying like sit with it, like sort of like feel it and like breathe through it and not like freak out from it. Like allow yourself to feel like, okay, I'm feeling nervous, which is normal. So like I think what happens is we get a feeling and we like sort of like our knee-jerk reaction is, okay, well, how am I gonna fix it? What do I do? It's wrong. Why should I go that?
Exactly.
Right. So what we need to do is like so you get nervous about something. Something is rightfully so, like you're telling this woman, like totally normal. We get it. Everybody understands it. Like as if you would be looking at yourself not as yourself. Like if I was talking to you, because if I was talking to my friend, he tells me he's having anxiety about a certain thing, I would be able to be supportive to him because that makes so much sense. And then just I just went, okay, makes sense. I'm totally normal for being relaxed. I'll deal with how to deal with it tomorrow if I need to go to a psychiatrist, I need to go to a therapist, or I need to do A, B, and C. But for right now, I'll sit with it for a little bit.
Now you see the godless of sharing. See, you just did it.
All right.
Ah, it took a little, but you got it.
Okay, so that's that. Somebody else wants to do a walkthrough, so can we do it?
Wow.
I think they're very helpful because I think
Okay,
you'll already get the concept over here.
you got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just counting.
Okay, let's go. How are you?
Yes. What do I have to do?
What do I have to do?
I'm sorry. Okay, because okay, you can hear me, yes?
Loud and clear.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Um,
thank you very much for calling. Appreciate you volunteering.
yes, thank you, doctor. Um, because I'm only hearing myself, I don't, okay. I have a situation. My mom passed away quite a few years ago, and um, there's a property, couple of properties that a relative, a sibling of mine, was taken care of. He made himself the, I guess, the executor, you call it. He passed away in the last probably 4.5, 5 years, and mm, and I'm supposed to, you know, to be the person. Basically, he took it away from me illegally, or we should have
Oh,
split it. But anyway, without going into this, I'm the only one that, and it's I don't know anything about real estate. I don't know how to handle it, and I know that there's tenants living there that for the last 3.5 years are not paying anything, and they basically wanted to, I don't want to use the word like steal, but for lack of a more appropriate word, they wanted to buy it or get it from me for almost nothing, and I said that's not out of the question. But because it's causing me a lot of anxiety again, because I don't know how to handle it, and
yeah.
there's no one but me to do it. And I consulted with attorneys, and estate or this kind of type of uh, situation. It's you have to pay money ahead, and I consulted, had some people help me. I have a very good friend. She works in the courts, but
Let,
she
let,
has a
let me
position
let
that
me
she.
let me
Yeah,
stop you
go
for a
ahead.
minute. Let me
I'm
stop.
sorry.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what firstly, I'm sorry you're dealing with this situation.
Yes.
Sounds
So.
like your mom wanted to leave you something wonderful in terms of an estate, and then something happened in terms of
Hmm.
your family, and it's a really um, tragic
Hmm.
situation. You're
Yeah.
speaking so clearly about it. I'm actually not hearing anxiety. What
Yes.
I'll tell you, what I'm hearing is stress.
Right.
Stress is not the same as anxiety. Stress is when somebody has demands or a situation that they have to deal with, which you have, and they don't
Right.
have the resources, whether that's knowledge, legal or whatever,
Hmm.
financial, time, wherewithal, whatever it is, to deal with that situation. So the demands of the situation are greater than their resources. And these four steps will not help you, and clinical anxiety treatment will not help you. There's only one solution to stress, which is you have to rebalance the equation. If demands are greater than resources, you have to reset that by increasing your demands or increasing the resources or decreasing the demands. In your case, I
Can you
don't think you can decrease
can
the
you
demands.
explain
I'll explain.
okay, sorry.
You can either find ways to deal with the situation by increasing your resources, or you can decrease the demands by reducing the situation. Usually, the best way to deal with stress is to cut your demands, but you can't do that. Your only way is to find out how to deal with this situation through finding proxies, whether that's attorneys, whether that's real estate friends, whether that's people who deal with this kinds of things, trusted family members to help you to deal with the situation and resolve
With
it.
family members, no trusted family
I
members. That
understand, and I
mhm.
understand that's particularly hard because of the fact that you're
Yes,
trusted.
yes,
I
sure.
understand. It makes it even harder to get the resources. But that's
Mhm.
the only solution. So we're not talking about anxiety.
Okay.
We're talking about this is a stress situation. And a very
I just want to pause everybody for a second. It's a very important point. So
Yes.
there's stress and there's anxiety. So people go through stressful situations in life. So you're saying the way to deal with stress is completely different than anxiety.
right.
Anxiety is a fear that sort of takes you over. Can stress cause anxiety?
So it can be comorbid, but that's not what was happening here. She was so
And I'm
clear.
not talking about her, I'm talking about in general. So let's say, for example, when you're dealing with that situation, so either when you have a situation what's causing stress, either you have to hire help or figure out a way how to get your productivity better, Or you make another calculation where people do that is they say it's not so important to me and they walk away from it because they don't want to deal with stress. Right? People will get divorced and instead of fighting, they say, I just give in because they don't want to deal with the stress. So
Yeah,
they're
divorce
I'm
is almost always both, but and usually some other things too. So that's a complicated example. But I'll give you an example.
yeah.
I have been recently dealing with a stressful situation, which was also causing me anxiety until I worked through it, and now it doesn't cause me anxiety. It still causes me stress, but I'm not terrified of the uncertainty, of the meaning of it, of it's not affecting my relationships. If anything, it's invigorating me to feel more letting go and actually helping me in terms of my spirituality, in terms of my rookness, in terms of my relationships. But I'm
So,
still dealing with the stress, and
so
that's just what it is.
the difference between stress
Um,
and anxiety is that stress is something that's more lamaisa, that's here that I have to deal
Correct.
with, versus anxiety, it's not lamaisa.
Correct.
So
I'll give you an example. If somebody theoretically had a medical problem that they were dealing with, and they really were at a full place of acceptance about the potential consequences of that medical issue, they don't have anxiety, but they have stress. They have to find a doctor. They have to reduce their capacity to do. They have to reduce their demands because they can't handle. They have to go to medical appointments, whatever. But like they really, it's not. It's theoretically possible to not feel anxious, but to be stressed. It's not common. I think this situation though is sounding like that just from the tone of the conversation.
Doctor, may I ask you a question? Not to question your professionalism,
No, no,
but
please. I might have missed something. You
pardon
spoke
me.
10
Yes,
minutes.
I
In
would.
10 seconds.
Yes, yes. I want to understand how, just by the tone of voice, you can characterize that the person. I mean, for how you explained, whatever is the difference, because I totally blanked out when you said it's stress and not anxiety. This situation has unraveled me,
Of course it
made me
unravels
not.
you. It's really stressful, but it's
No,
not.
no, it affects, yes, but anxiety, like for example, every time I had to deal with an attorney, make an appointment, or uh, thought about it, or had to converse with the tenants, or handle it, I would blank out. It would affect every. I would one time I quit a job, uh, to the degree where an employer even asked me to come, telling them what was going on. I have friends like in the Jewish community, or some people I know that they're not lawyers, and they said you have to talk to the whatever. I can't imagine. That uh, just how I briefly explained, and you were able to
By the way,
characterize it.
I'll tell you
Yes,
something.
please tell me.
Now you sound anxious. Before you did not sound anxious.
Oh,
So
interesting. Yeah.
brought it
Hmm.
out. We brought it out. Um, there's probably more to unpack. I think we probably have to move on to the next caller. It's too bad I
Yeah,
didn't get all that
understood.
emotion the first time. You sounded like so lucid and clear.
Hmm.
So I'm glad we went there. Yeah, I I do think you have a stressful situation though, and you do have to deal with that. And we did talk about that, so that was worthwhile.
Yes, I couldn't, in a couple of sentences, I couldn't explain. This has
I
like
I get it.
affected my life totally. I mean, in to survive,
Of
we have
course,
to
by
keep
the way,
ourselves
it's
together. We can't just collapse, right?
understandable.
Sorry. Yeah.
Like David, is there a theory? I just was somebody was saying. I was curious. I want to bring it out there. Is that like Hashem gives us anxiety as like a tool to be careful, right? So we shouldn't get hurt. We shouldn't, So it's like a thing that Hashem gave us, right? Everybody has anxiety. The more we put energy into the anxiety, it grows into something bigger, and it becomes like the more you let that fear grow, it gets worse and worse. The more you sort of get rid of it, and you like people, let's say, who have zero anxiety, even though they don't, their house is in foreclosure, they're not scared. It's like a midah. You have to learn how to like balance it.
I am terrified of the people who say they have no anxiety. Almost always, they're narcissists or they have a substance abuse problem or like they're just completely out to lunch. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, they're completely out to lunch, guys. I've seen it.
usually not a good thing, you know.
No, definitely not a good thing.
That makes me nervous. Um, I would even say more than it keeping you on your toes. I think anxiety can help create bonds between people. When you share your anxiety with somebody, you can actually create more connection with them if it's done in the right way. I think it can make you stronger as a person. Because when you face your anxiety, it can embolden you in a good way. And I think that anxiety reminds us that we're not in control. In that regards, it can actually lead us to bitachon and emuna if you embrace it and don't fight against it. That's what anxiety is for. Yes, it keeps you on your toes. Also, that's true. You need adrenaline in order to like make good decisions. But it's more. It's much more than that. That's a very That's the kind of thing like I would learn in Psych 101. But I actually believe after having dealt with this for 20 years that there's a much deeper um, purpose to this human emotion that we have. Hashem gave us anxiety for a reason. And in this door, he gave us a lot of anxiety for a good reason. We're just not using it right.
Definitely.
What would spiritual bypassing look like?
Spiritual bypassing? Sure, I'll tell you about that. Usher just mentioned it. Like, oh, everything's fine. Like, a house is in foreclosure. And like, oh,
Maybe running to step number 4 and saying, I'm letting go, everything's up to Hashem.
yeah, if you're running to step number 4 before actually talking about it with anyone else or really embracing it or even being aware, like, are you really aware of the consequences of foreclosure, my friend?
I don't want to be.
I understand, but then you can't work the
I
steps.
want to rely on Hashem.
That's fine, but what are you relying on him for?
Because it's scary.
Not really. If you're not processing your anxiety, you're not scared. Actually, that's the vort. You're not really processing, you're not really relying on Hashem unless you're process the anxiety.
Well, that's interesting.
You're out to lunch. You're kidding yourself.
First process it yourself.
Yeah, first know what you're facing. See the fear. See how far you are from the ground, and then trust in Hashem. That's bitachon.
Okay.
Think.
Beautiful.
I think so. I mean, Fiona is dicey.
Okay, somebody sent an interesting question. What should I be watching for my child? As a parent, I'm worried that I might miss signs. My child seems to be withdrawn lately and gets very anxious about things never used to bother him, like school, social situations. I don't want to brush it off just as a phase, but I also don't want to panic too quickly. What early signs should parents look so they can support their child before anxiety becomes overwhelming?
Early signs. Um, Talk to your child. I'm not going to give you an early signs. You got to talk to your child openly, just like, hey, like, is everything okay? In an inquisitive, positive, healthy, supportive, loving, normal way. I mean, there isn't a house in our community that doesn't have children who don't struggle with some sort of emotions. There isn't a person in our community who doesn't struggle with some sort of emotions. We're human. That's part of the journey, part of what, you know, every great person in Jewish history struggled with something. And sometimes seriously, right? Kaylee, lama zavtani, and even worse we see throughout Tanakh. So can you have an open conversation with your kid? Is that, hey, sweetie, what's going on? And if they won't talk to you after school because they're too charged up, take them out for ice cream or for dinner or for breakfast or find another time. But you have to have those conversations. Um, the closer you are with your kid, with your kids, with your children, and the more open your conversations are, the more you'll be able to just understand. I don't think it's a matter of warning signs like, oh, this is a problem and that's not a problem. It really is contextualized and it depends on your relationship with your child. But that's the most fundamental thing I can give you. It's the best advice I can give you.
Just allowing them to talk.
Yeah, here, like just listening.
And not being scared of what they're sharing.
Yeah. We're in it together. You're not alone. Whatever's going on at school or in your mind or in the world or in whatever, mommy's got you. Tati's got you. We're here together. You're not alone.
Here's another question. When the anxiety hits, my mind races and my body feels out of control.
Oh, I thought it was only me.
I try telling myself to calm down, but it only seems to make it worse.
Yes.
In those moments, what really helps bring the nervous system back down, and what things should we stop doing because they actually intensify the panic?
Stop trying to bring your nervous system back down. That's exactly what I'm
It's
saying.
getting worse.
Stop trying to bring it back down. Let it go up. I'll tell you let's be really clear and unpack this biologically. Anxiety, when you feel anxiety, what's happening is your adrenal glands, which are perched on top of your kidneys, are firing off adrenaline into your bloodstream. If you fight against the anxiety or try to flee from it and push it out of your mind, you literally flood more adrenaline into your bloodstream. It's kind of like when you're getting pulled over by the police for speeding and you decide to speed up to get away. It's not going to end well. Just slow down the car, pull over to the side, and like get the ticket and move on with your life. Sorry, officer, you got me. Same thing with anxiety. Like, okay, here we go again. Like, don't try to put it away. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to outrun it. Officer, you got me. What are we going to do? Why did I feel this way? Talk to someone else about it. Use it to build resilience and let go of control. That is the method. Coach Menachem, what do you think?
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
David, sorry. Go
Yeah,
now.
thank you for taking my question. I have a close relative going through something very rough, and she's availing herself of the share step to just keep on mentioning it. It happens once, twice a day. In the beginning, we're glad to help out and everything, but now the conversations are just wearing on, and they're getting very tiring, and they just get depressing. What are we supposed to? How are we supposed to work through this?
Yeah, they're not really sharing to create. By the way, in my master class, which goes through these 4 steps on my website, it's not sharing stam, it's sharing to create connection. And this individual is sharing and actually rupturing connection,
Right.
sharing at the expense of connection, which is not the goal. And it's not helping, which is probably why they keep sharing, right? Because they're trying to create connection and they don't realize that they try again and it just doesn't work, so they keep trying. It's the only method that they have. They're just, you know, trying to deal with it, and it's not working. Um, Tough situation, because what do you say? Like, I don't want to hear, like, then they're gonna feel like they don't love you, that you don't love them or you don't care. So it has to be said with like a lot of TLC and a lot of like, hey, like, I've noticed that I don't even know. I don't know your relationship, so I don't want to give you advice here. But it is probably the kind of thing where they need to be speaking to a professional who can help to move them along, to start to face their anxiety or to start to deal with it in a more sophisticated way.
Mm. I mean, so I'll just try to shift it on to the next step and bow out, sort of.
Try, but it's I don't know your relationship. I can't. It's hard to actually like assess. I don't want to give you bad advice. Um, and if it's a temporary situation, hopefully it'll get resolved.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's not that new, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
You know, there might be an opportunity for you to share, like, hey, I've been thinking about your anxiety, and it's actually making me really anxious. So how about we go together to speak to somebody, and it'll help me.
Uh, Interesting.
That's
Okay.
a good point. Maybe by you listening, it just it avoids them to go to for real help. So
It does.
how do we know if we're listening for that connection or
You can tell. You can tell. Is it really creating connection? Do they seem more calm? Do they seem more anxious? I mean,
Almost exacerbates it, feels like.
they're lucky to have you as a in their family, but at the same time, it's not what they need.
Okay, let's go to the closing segment part. Dr. David, all the people that wanted to ask, Dr. David will have to come back again. Okay, so first of all, big thank you to Dr. David Rosmarin for coming on tonight. Tremendous chizuk. It's obviously a big topic. Hopefully, people will be able to take out something tonight that will could actually help them. Again, just to give a quick recap. Again, everybody's here the first time every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Different guests. Next week, we're going to have Jake Turks from the Mishpacha magazine, and we're going to be talking about all the stuff that's going on in the world. It's more political. He's tying into spiritual, so will definitely be an interesting program. Please join us. Again, tonight's is sponsored by Fresh Start. Fresh Start is a Jewish intensive retreat for 1 week, and it's an amazing program. If anybody feels that they could use that, maybe a higher level of care, but it's a little bit reach out. The number is 248-301-9997. It's a real week to return to yourself, inner peace, beauty, and Hashem. And it's a very, for people that feel that anxiety level, whatever it is, reach out to Yochanan. Hopefully, he can guide you. Everything is recorded at menachemberfeld.com. If anybody has any questions, you can email coachmenachem@gmail.com. Tonight's share is 251. If you want to listen to it on the phone, the number is 732-305-9011. Dr. David, what is your website again? Somebody wants to get a hold of you, somebody wants to know any of your material.
Yeah, absolutely. Centerforanxiety.org, firstly, for anything clinical, and because there are a lot of people who seem to be in that camp today. Centerforanxiety.org, with offices in New York. And my personal website for the masterclass and more, DHROSMARIN.com, DHRosmarin.com. And I've got a newsletter. Love to connect with people, reach out, and great audience.
Yeah. Back to you 1 second. Okay, thank you to all the advertising sponsors, Lakewood Scoop, LA Hour, 5 Essential, Chalik from JCN. We're going to go to the closing segment. I'll speak for a minute, then Coach Menachem, and then Dr. David. We'll leave you with closing words. So I just want to wrap up my thoughts of tonight. I think Dr. David really was helpful to, first of all, for me, to differentiate between stress and anxiety. I think we mixed it up tremendously. I think we just always feel anxiety, always feel nervous, but really a lot of things in life is just stressful. We live in a very stressful world. There's a lot of demands, work, children, and just life. It's a lot. So that's normal stress that we deal with. And I think you made the point at the end of the day, when I have a workload that's too much or something that's too stressful, I have either option to bring up my productivity, whatever way that is, or decide I'm going to do it more, or I make a choice to push it away, that it's not worth all the stress for that. You know what I mean? Somebody wants me to do something and I just feel it's overwhelming, it's too much stressful. I won't do it, even if it's a money issue. So that's was a very important point. And as far as anxiety, I think the 4 steps is tremendous. I mean, I think we all know the concepts. I think just very clear to make that map in your head. First, we'll try to really, like David, unmute. I just want to make sure I got it right. First, to really identify, the way I'm understanding it tonight is really identify what the stress is. That's one. Okay. That I want to clarify what I understand what identify is. Identify means he's quiet, he's muted. You can unmute. Oh, you can't unmute.
I'm unmuted, but I'm quiet.
To identify, like, and I think that's a very valid point. The way I understood is like, oh no, I'm so nervous about this, but what's really, really bothering you? It's not obviously the brain is telling you, oh, I have to do this right now, but there's something deeper about that that's causing that anxiety. And again, let's just clarify, we're talking about anxiety. That's not something that's I have to do a job or have a business over like something that's not really, it's more a fear of that that's not really in front of me. That's really what you're saying, right? Something that's in front of me, it's not anxiety. I have to go for a job interview. I'm nervous about that. I have anxiety about it, but it's really stress because everybody's nervous. That's stress. Like you're going to meet a person. So anxiety would be something more like, oh, if this happens, then that will happen, and you start getting lost in that thought. Is that correct? So to identify really what is the part that's freaking you out about it. Um, B is to speak to Coach Menachem, a good friend, and talk it out, get chizik, try to, I guess there's 2 parts. A, it's an emotional connection, which you said was very important. When you have emotional connection, it really helps people. And B, I think another point that we mentioned, but let's clarify it, is really getting another view on it. Because sometimes you look at a situation as super anxiety, and then after somebody else takes it in their angle, because I always say this, you could always figure out the other person's problems, give them the best answers, and you could sound like the biggest chacham until your own life. Your own life, you're totally like you're lost, all these great guys when it comes to themselves. So when you get another person's perspective, they're able to calm you because they're looking at it in a much more outside power view versus you have all these feelings. And 3, embrace, which is the hardest part, which I think you're saying it easy, but I think it's really hard and I think it's not clear. But everybody to their own thing based on the situation is basically what you could do in that situation that will take you up an ante
Yep.
versus hiding from it versus again, this person has a fear of going in the car doesn't mean you should, go in blindfolded in a Tesla self-drive at 90 miles an hour. But like maybe, laughing, but maybe like sort of go in that I'll go in, I'll accept it, like sort of just take it up an ante. And I mean, we all know this. Anytime we have an anxiety or fear or stress, and that we sort of break through it, or we overcome it, there's a tremendous feeling of like satisfaction. There's a tremendous feeling of like empowerment. That's super powerful. And then the 4th step is letting go, which is really two very cute words and a lot of books on it, but letting go is like you said, we do it at 98% of the things. A lot of things we let go, right? I can't change my pay, I can't change my this, and I can't change my that. But the thing that you want to change that you can't, letting go is it's cute. I've read the book, I hear the concepts, but
It is hard.
it's a murderous thing when it's something that really irks you and something that really, but those are the steps. So that's what I got out of tonight. And I think if we could all this week a little bit try to the next time we get an anxiety about something, futuristic, what's going to be with America, what's going to be with the economy, what's going to be with like all these anxiety things, going through these steps and just like taking a breather, I think will be very helpful. That was my take, and we're going to pass it over now to Coach Menachem Brunfeld.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor, and everybody for sharing, for actually doing the work, and many people that have been working on anxiety, going for help. And if you feel that you've been, getting help for a while without seeing results, I know that Dr. David, you have a something that you offer to figure out if they're getting the right therapy or not. So we could talk about that soon. But the situation, there are people who are sitting in heavy, real pain, and it's not easy. It's the life they just can't continue, and it's hard. And for them, the four steps are not just listening to the four steps are not going to work. By going for finding the help, the therapist, so they can work together and get what they need. And my bracha is, in Mitzvah they should get the help. And like we heard tonight, a big part of it is the connection. Like humans need others. If you're living by yourself, trying to figure out all alone, and you feel this way, it might be time to find somebody to connect. And like we heard, connection as in connection. And ultimately, connection with Hashem. Like we heard, step number 4 is when you get to step number 4 with doing the work, is being able to say, Hashem, you run the world. And there's nothing much that I can do in the situation. I've done what I can, and the rest is up to you. Let go and let God. Again, not always that easy, but connecting with humans, connecting with Hashem, and hopefully we can figure it out, become clear, and take a deep breath and enjoy the ride. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. David, leave us with takeaway material.
Sure. Everybody on this call and everybody everybody you will ever meet, everyone you ever have met is dealing with this sugya called anxiety today. I think it's probably always been that way, but especially in this day, that is the way it is. The question is not whether you will have anxiety. The question is, what do you do when? And if it's not interfering with your life, well, you got 4 steps tonight, and you're welcome to learn more about that on my website. There are also plenty of good resources here. I'm not sure how many of the 251 episodes focus on anxiety, but I bet you it's more than 5 or 6, at least. Popular topic today. So if you need more, please get it, whether that's therapy or medication or whatever. And if you need something more serious like IOP or, like I said, want to knock out have some more significant gains in therapy, then that's fine too. Everybody has to use one of those approaches. Either it's, somewhere between self-help or coaching or therapy or intensive therapy or an inpatient psychiatry ward, somewhere in that range. Hopefully, I shouldn't even say hopefully something along the lower range as opposed to the higher range. It's really a matter of hopefully we will all get what we need. And if whatever anxiety we are having, I just hope that we also have the commensurate bracha of having those resources available and the wherewithal and the courage to avail ourselves to that so we can live a life of connection in this anxious generation.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. David Rosmarin, for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. Anybody can check on his website. I posted all the links on the chat. Menachem will email it out. And thank you again. And hopefully we'll see everybody next week, Sunday night, 9 p.m. with Jake Turks. It should be an interesting program. And we're going to be able to test with all the anxiety we're going to get from that program, the 4 steps, and see if it works. Everybody have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week. Thank you.